Hello, my name's Akeisha and I'm the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Development Lead. This episode of the Creative Community Podcast is part of the Your Voice, Your Story series for Black History Month, where we're interviewing Black staff members and people we support to learn more about their culture, heritage, traditions and lives. In this episode, I talk with Letitia, a support worker based in Harrow. Letitia discusses her roots as a Black British woman born to Jamaican Rastafari parents. She talks about the things she loves about being Jamaican, from playing Lovers Rock on a Sunday to the way elders are viewed and respected. She also discusses some of the challenges she faced when growing up and how some of these are mirrored by her daughter in the present day. We hope you enjoy.
Hi Letitia, thank you so much for agreeing to do this podcast recording as part of the Black History Month series. To start, can you tell me a little bit about you, your background and your heritage?
Hey Keisha. So when I was younger, I was brought up in Harlesden, northwest London, predominantly Black and Asian and Indian. So that's what we were around for about 9 years, and we moved to Harrow. Complete different spectrum. It was complete culture shock because we were then the only Black people in our class, and it was me, my twin sister and I, and it was a shock for everybody. Lo and behold though, it was a good experience, and we were able to surround ourselves with different people, different experiences, different life, stories, different, just lifestyles, and it was nice. It took a while to kind of adjust, and it was a nice experience because we were then able to take the teachings that our dad gave us as a Black Rastafarian of self-love, and just because you're different doesn't mean that you're not beautiful. And when you're younger, you don't really think about these things, and it's as you get older you're like, it all kind of clicks in. That's why he said that. Because you're then into different experiences as an adult. You're in different spaces that you wouldn't be in when you're younger. But yeah, as I said, my dad was Rastafarian. My mum is Jamaican. They grew up the same but different. My mum moved here. My grandparents sent for her when she was 14. And I don't know about you, Akeisha, but our grandparents sent for our... What, is your grandparents from Jamaica?
Yeah, my grandparents from Jamaica, yeah.
Did they send for your parents as well?
They sent, yeah, my grandparents sent for my dad when he was about the same age, 13, 14.
Yeah, so it's like they wanted more opportunities. I wouldn't say a better way of life, but I would say more opportunities, because who wouldn't want to live in the Caribbean? Let's be real, in comparison to where we are now, a bit grey. Sun, sea, sand. So they sent for, both grandparents sent for my dad and my mum. As I said, my mum came here when she was 14. My dad came here when he was 7. So they both kind of had the same kind of transition at different stages in their life, but it was pretty much the same. They had a lot of adjustment to do. Probably, obviously, not as minute as mine, because this was a different time. A completely different time. This is like 60s. And as we know, in the 60s, it wasn't as inclusive, you want to say? It was a lot more overtly racist, overtly prejudiced, judgmental, and they had to fight a lot especially my dad, actually. I don't really hear about my mum saying much stories about fighting for her kind of corner in that sense. Maybe it was different for women than men. What do you think?
Yeah, perhaps you're right. I get a lot of stories from my gran, and I know she had to fight. So actually, it might just be a difference between them as individuals, but I know my gran had to fight and had to work very, very hard.
Yeah.
Because she was similar. Like you mentioned, your parents were both born, your parents were born in Jamaica, and then your grandparents sent for them when they were young. to come over to England in the 60s. For anyone who doesn't know what you mean by sent for, can you explain that?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So what that means is that they went ahead and built a life in the UK and then sent for, meaning bringing their child into the UK in order to join them in that new life and that new way of living, lifestyle and so forth. It was for them to kind of build something before bringing them along, instead of bringing them along. And you could say maybe struggle, because it would be hard to do both, be a parent and try to build something, especially in those times, and have to fight probably a bit extra to get that built, that foundation. So yeah, that's what I mean by sent for. I'm so used to saying that term. Not everyone knows what that means. But yeah, as you said about your grandma fighting and having to, fight extra hard to get where she was. I know my grandmothers had to do the same, but maybe it's a generational thing, whereas was it a quicker transition of fighting from being the elder to where it is when you say our mums were there? Maybe they've already got to that stage where they didn't have to fight as hard because the mother already done it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so you mean your grandparents came over, they did a lot of the fighting and went through the struggle, set up a life, and then sent for, as you described, your parents, which meant that their struggle was a little bit easier because your grandparents had done some of the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be.
And then you mentioned that when you were born, you moved. How old did you say when you moved?
Moved to from Harlesden to Harrow when we were 9.
So you were 9 when you moved
to
Harrow.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that transition? How did it compare?
Well, my sister and I are quite dominantly black. And we were very, very proud. And it's funny how from being that way to then question yourself, because now you're in a different environment with people that don't look like you. So that was a hard one. I mean, we transitioned obviously fine, but it was a learning experience, let's just say. We did have a couple comments made to us, but not as overtly as how it used to be with like our parents. It was no N-words, or it was more of what we look like. We're dark skinned, we're beautiful, to some that could be quite threatening or quite, uncomfortable, to some that don't know it, but that's all we've known.
Yeah.
That's all we've known.
And so when you were growing up, do you feel like you saw a lot of people that looked like you, black, dark skin, women and men, and boys and girls? Did you see much of that in the media and around you?
In the media? No. And if we did, it was very far and few in between. And I remember back then, a lot of the people that we liked, like pop stars and stuff like that, they were all white. And that was okay, obviously, but we never really thought to ourselves, oh, no one looks like us, because we're still young and innocent-minded and quite, we like what we like at the end of the day, but we never question it. But as time went on, we started to see more. Still not as much as this should be. And I'm talking about music at this point. I remember 3T coming out. Michael Jackson's nephews. And we were like, okay. I had the posters up and we had Backstreet Boys. So there was a different range of people on our walls. That shows our age, or my age, I should say, putting posters on my walls. But but growing up, and especially a few years ago now when we had the Black Panther, that was a big deal. Because growing up, around all my cousins, I come from a very big family, and growing up around my cousins and all of us around the same age group, I remember us just always like, we had a really nice childhood. We had one of the best childhoods you could ever have. And, you know, we were, as I said, we were familiar with being around our own people. And then when we moved, they still remained in Northwest. So they thought we changed, which is quite funny. But we all went to go and see Black Panther together. And we wore our dashikis, we wore our afros. We went in. We were like, this is a time to embrace. This is a big moment. And there was cries, there was laughters, it was such a good feeling just to have someone that looks like you on the screen and do such a good job. Such a good job. The acting, the heart, just like, and there were so many messages in there. That almost is like they were talking to us. And it kind of, when everyone, I remember leaving out of the cinemas now, and there was another set of cousins, which was quite weird. It was quite nice. And we were all just so like, I was going to say gassed, but I don't know if anyone knows what that means. We were so excited. And we was like, yeah. And then we all started taking pictures together. Like everyone, it was like it united the culture. And it's a shame. It's heartbreaking about Chadwick Boseman obviously passing away. He fought through whatever he was going through to do this, because it's as if he knew how important this was. This was like a big thing that he was involved in. And yeah, he the first superhero, first Black superhero for Marvel.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. And I'm that made everyone so happy. That was such a good moment. And it's like, we've arrived. Yep.
Agree. I remember when that came out, and it was absolutely massive. As you described, it was huge.
Yeah.
And it was such a success. You've mentioned your mum being Jamaican, your dad being Rastafarian. Do you have any favourite things about being Jamaican and your culture, your background?
Yes, quite a few actually. I was thinking about it yesterday. And I was speaking to my family about it as well. Coming from the family that I come from, we're quite loud. And but loud when I say the jokes, the laughter, like the cackles. There's different calibers of like cackles that were just like contagious. You know, there's always a joke in something. And it could be the most offensive, but you know, it's funny. And they make things very light. And I love the way that we look after our elders and we respect our elders. And that there is something that I've been brought up around. Like, they are like the pinnacle people in our family. And, you know, after losing all four of my grandparents, I've still carried on to kind of just respect my elders. They've come before you, you know, pay dues to that, you know, you can learn something. That's what we've been taught. You can always learn something from somebody that's been on earth longer than you. Yeah. I love our sayings, because then that just made me...
So many sayings.
And I was like, I'm always, what does that mean? It's the accent I don't want to get wrong. I'm going to sound so English. You can take horse to water, but you can't force him to drink it. Is it a horse or a donkey? I don't even know.
Usually a donkey.
Is it a donkey? Which means you can help someone, but they have to want to do it themselves. Yeah. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can try to help, but it's only whether someone's going to accept the help.
That's it.
One my gran used to say when she was talking about us grandkids and how we would chat all the time. Yeah. She'd be like, "You mightn't have no, what was it? I've just butchered that. Hang on. You mightn't have no plug." And then, like, the water's running, and your mouth's not got a plug to stop the chatting.
Do you see what I mean? Like, they could say something, it's like, oh, but it's funny. It's funny, so you can't help but laugh and actually listen to what they say, to be honest. But, yeah. Yeah. I love that about being Jamaican, and the way that food brings everyone together. The music. We got Lovers Rock, which I never appreciated when I was younger. Because I'd be like, oh, this again. But now, why am I putting on my TV on my phone? You know? And it sounds sweet.
It does. And especially like, when the bass is up high.
This is it. And I'm like, that's what he means. Because you don't know about these things when you're younger. But when you listen to these things all about heartbreak, love, just life, and it's like, okay. And it's always like positive, and it's, you know, can move.
And it's nostalgic now. It reminds me of a Sunday morning now. And like you, I'd hear my mum playing it and I'd roll my eyes when I was a kid. But now, big Sunday morning, and I'm playing it.
And it puts you in a good vibe, isn't it? Love it. And talking about Sundays, well, I don't know if anyone still does this, but we still have Sunday dinner around the table. Do you still do that?
If I'm at home, then yeah. If I'm at my mum's or if I'm with my family, we will have a proper Sunday dinner at the table.
This is it. And that's something I want to continue. I know that everyone lives their own life a bit more now. It's not as... It's like times are changing. And people are are being braver to step out of their comfort zone and living away from the family or living outside a different country. Or so everyone is not always going to be there at the same time. But when we have the opportunity to, we still do it. And I'm so glad that the younger generation gets to see that. It's so important.
It is. What did your Sunday dinner consist of?
Okay, that's macaroni and cheese. Well, we don't say macaroni and cheese. We say macaroni cheese. Rice and peas, either curry mutton or curry goat or stewed chicken or curry chicken. There's always a variety of meat. We like to alternate it because we get a bit fed up of like chicken. But there's different ways that we can cook the meat. So we'll have a meat dish. And we will have vegetables, coleslaw, roast potato, and depending on what we had for breakfast, there'll be some fried plantain or some fried dumpling. My dad will have Ital food, which is Rastafarian. So that consists of like callaloo, spinach, could be anything with veg, because he's a vegetarian. And then we'll have some dessert or something.
And a gravy boat? Do you have a gravy boat?
Oh, yeah. Christmas time we'll have two. One for the meat, one for the turkey. So, yeah.
Yes.
So we love food. We love food. Yes. Life consists and revolves around food. And that's how we show our love. Because I'm a feeder now.
Each other and eating together.
Definitely. And I'm a feeder. And that's how I show my love. Like, you come to my house, I am feeding. No. That's how I'm showing my love. Yeah. So I remember going to my grandparents' house, and that's how there's always a plate there. Yeah. Even if there is an extra plate, my granddad will tell me to come sit next to him and just like eat from his plate. Because that's how, you know, show your love and stuff. But yeah.
Show love and care.
Love and care. Oh, yeah.
I hear you. And you mentioned music a little bit before, but is there any other music, so aside from Lovers Rock, any other music that you associate with growing up?
Yeah, so there was Lovers Rock, there was Ragga, now called Bashment. But Ragga back in the day, I remember the dance, there's always dances to music that come from Jamaica, especially when it comes to Ragga and Bashment. Back in the days, there was Butterfly, Bogle. I don't know about anyone else, but I know how to do them though. We'll practice and, you know, next family party, you know, we got all the moves down. Everyone's doing it together. So we've got roots and culture, but we do have other music from Jamaica. So we got Lovers Rock, Ragga, reggae, Bashment, and roots and culture. Now with roots and culture, my dad actually is a part of a band called Misty and Roots.
Oh, wow.
And this is they started in the 70s. And it's a group that sends a message of peace and love and unity and against racism and just the cruelties of the world. Just like every Rastafarian, they're like, you can call them hippies if you want. It's just all about peace and love, no violence, live a simple life. You don't need much to be happy. You need enough. You need your essentials, but everything else is within. And that's the most beautiful thing about one of the most beautiful, you could call it a religion, yeah, because it stems from Christianity, but it also has a bit of, other teachings elsewhere. Buddhism, Hinduism, there's all, religions that have that kind of peace element to it. And I remember always having a picture on the wall of Selassie. You know who I'm talking about? So,
I do, yeah.
Yeah, Selassie, the emperor. And so I've always known the power of the Rastafarian culture. And obviously topping that off with my dad's teachings of black and beautiful, you're different. You may have to, there was one other saying he used to say to us, you may have to fight harder because of what you look like. We understand that now, but we never understood it back then.
What did he mean by that?
So, what he went through, it was let me give you an example. It was 1979. And this is when the riots were going on. There was a lot of violence against people that were not white, especially black people. And, they used to still do their little practicing, They had a room, a flat where they used to rehearse. And there was a lot going on outside. And they used to hear people running and fighting for their life. And so they said, okay, let's start bringing people in. A little safe house kind of thing, And they did. And a gentleman went up to one of my godfather, but he was also the manager of the band at the time. I said, oh, yeah, the National Fronts are having a riot and they want you to speak, which doesn't sound like you should trust that. Let's be real. And he did. They all ended up getting beaten up. My dad got beaten up. Everybody got beaten up. It was basically a setup. But they tried to do good as the people they are, And that was what they were fighting for. And they've got a plaque now in Ealing, Misty and Roots and anti-racism. So,
Wow.
yeah. So it just shows you that fighting for a good cause and living in your purpose, as much as it's difficult at the time, your reason is bigger than you. And the situation is bigger than you. So if you can just do a little speck, a little something just to add towards the greater good, then that's something. The lyrics in my dad's, I wouldn't say my dad's band, but the band that my dad's a part of, it's very powerful. They have a song with Stephen Lawrence called Cover Up. And they say his name. I'm just going to read some of the lyrics to you. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
So this is a song called Cover Up.
Yes.
By Misty and Roots, and it's about Stephen Lawrence.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it says, do you remember Stephen Lawrence? Black male cut down in South London. And Babylon, called to account, made a true confession. That's one of the verses. And then it goes into a chorus. And then they also say in the next verse, from youth when you start education, then later on in the workplaces, How can man and woman get through? But majority knows your true confessions are from the goodness of your mind. And it's the cover-up. Black men feel it, and there's no justice. And it's a cover-up. And then it says racism, it's a cover-up. And then it has a loop with people know it, black men feel it, people know it, black men feel it. So what the song is basically about is about the struggles of a black person, man and woman, what they go through in life, in stages of their life, education, the workplaces, you know. And that just reminded me of the Dismantling Racism webinar that we do. As I said, a little speck to a greater good, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought, let me read those lyrics. It's quite relevant.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to listen to that full song after this.
Yeah, and they're actually playing in Camden this Sunday at the Electrical Ball. Yeah, so they're still touring. They've toured the world. And the thing is, imagine, like, their audience is so multicultural. There's loads of white people, there's loads of black, there's loads of... it's multicultural, and their message reaches a load of different people from different walks of life. And that's what brings it all together.
Yeah, music that speaks to everyone, and with the message of peace and harmony and love. That's
inclusive for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's a lot of things I love about Jamaica. So yeah, because I was speaking to him about it, he was like, yeah, man. But yeah, I'm so proud of him, man. I'm so proud that I had a dad like that to set that foundation in us for us to go out in the world the way we look. You know, a lot of things slid off our back, and we're able to go back home and speak about them and actually get more teachings. So there's never enough teachings. We need it.
You mentioned having a big family and lots of cousins, taking care of your elders.
Yeah. You know, it just makes me smile just... Because funny enough, my mum's in Jamaica now. She's Jamaica now. And the thing is, she's gone to... she lost her cousin. And she's at the... They're having a funeral. And it's still a joyous occasion. Even funerals are a joyous occasion. There's dancing, there's food, there's laughs, there's obviously the rum. You know, everyone's on their feet. We were watching the video a couple of days ago. And I was like, this is a celebration of life. This is, you know, it's always high vibrations. Always high vibrations. And that's what I love. You know, the island, the fact that you can get, you know, your food from a tree next to your house. Like, I was going to say yard, but next to your house. You know? What a way to live.
Yeah, I agree.
What a way to live. But yeah. Do you know, I forgot to mention about, obviously coming from a Rastafarian background, as I said, what I named my daughter. Am I allowed to say what I named my daughter?
Of course, yeah.
So her name is Ayanaya. Which sounds very Rastafarian. My dad was over the moon, obviously.
Yeah.
Because he said, as long as it says ya at the end, which means God as well. And so, yeah. So I named her Ayanaya. So Ayanai means I and I. How do you explain that?
It's tough to explain.
Can you try, please?
Like, I guess almost like the unity between me and myself.
Yes. Ayanaya basically means one love and God. And I actually made it up. I was at work and someone said, oh, why don't you call her Anaya? And I was like, And then I started to look into myself and think, you know, I need something strong. And the Rastafarian culture is very strong. And it has a lot of depth and it has a lot of heart. And I wanted her name to have a lot of heart. So I thought to myself, I had a few skeptical, you know, people like, is she going to be able to get a job? Can she put that on her CV and be considered? And it's funny because I know we mentioned this in dismantling racism, but the fact that we have to think about that is quite... It's like the reality of life, basically, right now, which is obviously not good and it's not fair. But obviously I went through with it because I'm that fighter. I'm like, no, they have to adjust to her if she's not adjusted to anybody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted a strong name for her.
I think that's a beautiful name, Ironaya. I was going to say I've never heard it, but that's because you made it up.
Yeah. And you imagine, I actually typed it in Facebook and Instagram, as you do, to see if there's anyone else in the world. One person came up though. I was shocked. I was like, oh. But yeah, made it up. And some people are, can we just call you Aya? Which I don't mind, but at the same time, it's like, no, learn her name.
Yeah. Learn to say it, learn to pronounce it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard. It's not hard. And she embraces it. And the thing is, also thinking about representation growing up, we didn't have a lot of black dolls. We didn't have... Obviously, we spoke about Black Panther, Marvel, superhero. We've just got that. We've got black dolls now. Most of them don't have any hair, and if they do, it's not the exact same as the one on our head. So we still got some work to do. Especially as a woman that has a black daughter and what she went through at school. Her schoolmates saying, "Oh, I don't want to play with you because you're black." There was a lot of work I had to do on her to kind of prize that out of her subconscious.
For context, can you say how old your daughter is? So
she's 5.
She's 5.
And she was 4 at the time. And that broke my heart. I thought 2020 at the time, 2024. Yeah, 2024. We still got this.
Yeah.
And she said, "Mummy, I don't want to be black, I want to be white." And that just broke my heart.
I can imagine.
Yeah. But even though I'm tearing up now, I worked with the school and yeah, she loves herself a lot now. Always in the mirror, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
There's no towel on the head this time. I'm like, yes.
I feel like that speaks to the additional work sometimes you have to do as a black child and as a parent of a black child to build them up and make sure they see their worth, because it's not handed to them.
It's
often.
not. It starts at home. So as I said about my dad implementing that into us when we were younger, I'm doing the same with her, but I didn't know I had to do it so early. That's my thing. I was always going to do it, obviously. But I thought, let a child be a child, you know? I didn't think she would experience so young. So that caught me off guard. But yeah, she's good now.
She's good, and she carries a strong name with her.
That was the aim. There. I'm here.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Your Voice, Your Story. This podcast was produced by the marketing team. Stay tuned for further episodes showcasing the experiences and cultures of Black staff members and people we support.